like the feeling that I got off the back of that goal was just utter jubilation, and the reaction of the crowd, the reaction of the bench, the reaction of the team on the pitch, everything just cemented. And that, like, when I talk about definitive, that was it. That was like rubber stamp, bang, job done, job completed, mission accomplished. And I think for me, that's why it has to be number one.
You know what? I hope when Toby edits everything, they're gonna show the goal commentary. Oh my God!
But I think that's part of it. I really do.
Yeah.
I know we joke, and you're in the studio now.
Yeah.
I think it's all part of it, and that's what makes, again, it just adds and accentuates to that goal. It makes it so special.
Hello everyone, welcome to a special edition of Across the Line. Of course, I'm here with my partner, Chris Greatwich, and a good friend, and always present in when it comes to the beautiful game right here in the Philippines. Jing Jamlang.
How's it going?
On his second episode.
Hey, yeah.
Thanks for coming, Jing, because they're slowly kicking me out, especially this guy beside me right here.
I forgot what you look like. To be honest.
Yeah, it's been a while, man.
He's a busy guy, man. He's a busy guy.
Thank you for gracing us with your presence, though.
So Jinx, your co-host now.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, pretty much. He's been almost as many episodes as you have now. So yeah, we have a really exciting episode, as always. But we're going to sort of change it up a little bit for this episode, off the back of the Azkals 11 episode, which garnered a really good response. We've decided to do another list, or compile another list, and see how people respond, because the response was very good in the initial episode. So we'll see how we get on with this one. The topic for today is going to be the top 5 most memorable goals in Philippine football history. History.
That's big.
Okay?
That's a lot.
That's the topic.
That's a lot of time right there. It's more than 100 years, my friend. But of course, me personally, I'm gonna stick to those that I've seen live.
Okay.
And probably add one more significant goal in the past like three decades ago, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, that's the general consensus for today's topic. How you qualify or how you measure memorable, I'm going to leave that up to you to decide. And then amongst the three of us, we will debate and then come up with a definitive top 5 most memorable goals of all time. And then we'll put it out to the general public and see what they will decide ultimately if we are correct in our...
And also, we're going to be looking out for comments online, and maybe they can actually send in their top 5 goals themselves. And because we're live for the first time, this is actually a very exciting episode, just because we're live. Yeah. And you can instantly give us feedback. And if you don't like our choices, you can just tell it to us here. Yeah,
and then what we'll do at the end of the episode, we'll go through some of the top 5 goals that the viewers from the live stream have selected, and then we'll debate those ones and see if any of them come close to our conclusions.
And there have been a lot of Azkals goals over the past probably 8 years, because we've played a lot. Azkals have played a lot, so many matches in this last 8 years. But of course, the pre-internet era is also different. So there might be some gems there that we might pick out, and hopefully we'll get to everything here. And looks like Jing is ready.
Yeah. So just so the viewers and the listeners understand how we're going to do this, we're going to do. Jing's going to give us his top 5.
Right.
Okay.
We'll
see how we get on with that one. My co-host will then give his top 5, and then I'll give my 5, and then from there we'll compile our ultimate top 5 most memorable goals in Philippine football history. So I know you've got your list.
I got a list.
Oh, sorry, just so everyone knows, we don't know what we've picked ourselves. No one knows.
We've not discussed it.
We haven't discussed it. So we're going to find out what your picks are
I got your message
Right now.
on the road yesterday. I couldn't help but laugh. And I was like, man, Chris Greatwich is making another Chris Greatwich episode here.
This might just be another
Oh my
episode
God.
about me.
'Cause
If I'm not in 3 of the top 5 picks, then your answers are incorrect.
that's what I was saying. It's like, is it possible that we compile a list with only one Chris Greatwich goal? I mean, or are we going to get overruled at the end of the day?
No. Listen, on the last episode, you weren't here. So, it was a
I
50-50
voted
split.
for you, my
It
friend.
is a 50-50 split live in the studio, right?
Right.
So,
And it was me who was voting for you. So.
yeah, exactly. So, in the end, it was right. Now there is a majority. We can come up with a majority here. So,
Okay.
you can gang up on me if you want, but I strongly suggest
Yeah.
that you pick with your heart.
That you tell history the way it happened.
Yeah, so at least
I mean-
3 of them need to be mine.
Yeah.
Whichever 3 you want out of the 5 is up to you.
If I was here, you would have made the best 11 because I voted for you.
He did make it. In
Well,
the end.
in the end, I picked myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
Do you want to go?
So
let's get
this
cracking.
is only national team football.
Yes.
Because there were a few goals back in the UFL and domestic league when he was starting
Oh my
out that
gosh.
were pretty memorable. right?
UFL goals?
Oh, for sure, man. There was a lot.
He had one
Oh,
as well.
Yeah,
That's why it
man.
doesn't matter if it's domestic league or if it's international. Chris is gonna find his way onto this list somehow,
Absolutely.
some way, right?
But let's narrow it down.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go back to when it started for me. Was watching 2004 Tiger Cup. Oh, was it 2004 when Chiefy scored against
Yeah.
Timor-Leste?
Yeah.
It was, right?
Yeah.
So one of those 2 goals, I'm gonna choose the one where he scored because they're both identical.
Yeah, pretty
right?
much, yeah.
Ali Borromeo knocked down Chiefy Nixon behind, scores the goal, and the one where he throws out the wings and then gets down on his knee, and I thought it was gonna be like an emphatic fist pump, but no, it was like a slow rising fist that he did, which I thought was like strangely soft of a celebration for the occasion in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So that stuck out to me, and because that was the first win in however long. That was so long of a losing streak that the Philippines was on. First win in the Tiger Cup, that has to make the list for me.
Okay. Which the winner or the equalizer?
I'm gonna go with the one. I'm not sure when he threw out that celebration, but I'm gonna go with the equalizer first.
equalizer,
The equalizer
okay,
for me was
okay.
like, whoa!
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
believe that we scored here.
He played in that game.
Yeah,
Yeah, I played, yeah.
That's right. So I'm gonna pick Chiefy on that one,
Okay.
and then
Is this in any order, by the way, or is this you just throwing out your 5?
I'm going chronological. All right,
okay.
just
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
chronological
okay.
in my mind. All
All
right.
right, yeah.
And then we're gonna go Suzuki Cup 2010. We're gonna skip 6 years and go straight to Singapore. Chris Greatwich, Singapore.
I mean,
Only because it was super late and we thought like this is like, of course this is gonna happen. We're gonna lose 1-0. We're gonna give it good effort, and that's that. But no, Chris decided to change the story a little bit. But first, Anton clattered Daniel Bennett,
Yeah.
and then the story was changed.
Yeah.
Cross comes in, and you smack it in, and that gives us hope. Which in the end, I mean, we ended up making 3 Suzuki Cup semifinals after that, I believe, right? We did 2012,
Yeah.
we did 2014, and then
4 out of 5.
2018. Yeah. None will be as significant as our first entry into the semifinals. So I think that one giving us hope into that was huge for me. And as I mentioned in the last episode, hugely memorable for myself. After that, I would go with Chiefy again. And this was a strange one because in the grand scheme of the significance of the goal against Mongolia at Rizal Memorial Football Stadium, I don't think it had the same relevance as us qualifying for an Asian Cup or challenging to qualify for the World Cup or anything of that nature. But everybody remembers that goal. He lifts it over his defender, smacks it through the legs of the goalkeeper. That's against Mongolia, right? Correct?
That's in Panad.
Was
Yeah.
that in Panad?
Yeah, that's in Panad.
Yeah.
So in Panad, but you see the crowd, right? Everybody's going mental.
Yeah.
And it was, to me, it captured the potential of Philippine football because this wasn't that big of a tournament anyway. But as long as you give people a reason to come out and watch the game, we had an opportunity to entertain and showcase the skill. And I think a homegrown player like Chiefy doing a moment of magic like that you can't capture that. I mean, you can't like recreate that easily.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was a moment of magic that people will hold on to for a long time.
Yeah.
So that makes the list for me. The fourth one is a goal against North Korea to keep us into the Asian Cup qualifiers into the next round. There was the winner by Ian Ramsey from Javier Patino, but I'm going to pick out Manny Ott's goal, the equalizer. one of the reasons why is because the assist came from Miguel Tanton. A nice little back heel in what was his only start for the Azkals. Hugely talented man. For people who know me, I'm a huge fan of Miguel Tanton. I love watching that guy play. And domestically, he's been such a treat to watch for Kaya. And eventually, he moved on to Ceres. But I thought he was an undervalued asset for the Philippines. And when he got his chance, I was like, here it is. It's an opportunity. And what a big game to throw him in there. And I thought he did well. He broke up a lot of attacks and then eventually set up Manny for that equalizer. Later on, Ramsey slotting in to make it 3-2. And that kept us in the hunt for the Asian Cup qualifiers.
Yeah.
And then finally, in that game against Tajikistan, the goal of Ingreso I thought was huge for us. That was a big one. But I'm going to choose the second goal from Phil Younghusband as it capped off a momentous career as a Philippine international. He could still be called up and contribute, but reaching that 50-goal mark and in such a big game, I think deserves to be on the list. So it was from the penalty spot, but wow, what a goal that was for him and for us to sort of like settle that match and make sure that we qualified to the Asian Cup.
So you're saying you want Phil Younghusband's career to be defined by a penalty kick?
Yeah.
But he
50th goal.
Yeah,
that was for me.
50th.
That was the marker of a fantastic career. I mean, at the leading the line for the Philippines. That's 50 goals. It's a milestone that's not going to be easily reached by anybody else. Not anytime soon. The way it seems, right? So that's my 5. Timor-Leste, Chifi, Chris, Singapore, Chifi, Mongolia, Manny versus North Korea, Phil Younghusband versus Tajikistan, 50.
Wow, that's
I don't know where to start with that.
Horrible?
Well, how come Chifi gets 2 goals in the list?
Because I'm a
See?
Chifi fan.
You see?
So he wears the shirt last week on the show. Now you pick him twice.
Yeah. Chifi
This is
comes
just-
out, watches the episode.
Yeah, he watches the episode and sends a message like, hey guys, how are you? I'm here.
Any chance of you listening to the previous one,
Yeah.
Steve? Maybe coming on the show.
Hey, listen.
Yeah,
man.
he's in Canada.
This is a personal choice, right? That's it was very clear, memorable to me personally. These were the ones that stuck out. So, obviously there was the Vietnam game as well, which I'm sure
You haven't picked any goals from that game, by the way.
is a tough one. That's why I just chose the one where we stayed in contention. That was for me a big one. So
Yeah, but we needed that Singapore goal to keep the Azkals.
the Vietnam game might have been irrelevant if we lost the one in Singapore.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
think so, but
that was a big one. So
Okay.
that's my 5. I'm at a disadvantage as I am starting first, and I don't get a chance to be reminded of some of the better goals. But I'm sure you guys will get those covered ever so shortly here.
Can I just butt in a second? So
Go on.
what I don't like about those picks
Yeah.
is that the last one that he's selected is actually more synonymous with your commentary, right? I think the way in which you described Phil's goal from the penalty is almost overshadowed the goal. I feel. I think that got the words. Can you recite them? Can you remember what you said on that one?
No.
we did that game with Anto.
Yeah, you were too emotional, I think, at this point. I think you've gone for any quiet moments. But I can remember, like, obviously, I was on the bench as a coach at the time.
Yeah.
I remember going back to the hotel, whatever, and then watching it back and listening to the commentary. Like, I feel like a lot of the goals that are scored that are these sort of pivotal, seminal moments in any, like, you can always associate the commentary with it. Like the Man United one when they won the Champions League.
Sure.
Man United score. They always score. That's what they say. Like, and then the corner goes in, and then they equalise. The Aguero goal when they won the Premier League.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Aguero, and it just becomes synonymous with the goal, right? And it almost the commentary almost becomes bigger than the actual goal. And I think your commentary on that, I don't want to get this wrong, but essentially what you're saying is this is the moment where we're going to book the ticket. To the Asian Cup finals. It's words to that effect. I can't remember the exact words, but that's how you frame it. And then there's just the silence, and then the crowd erupts. But that
Cedelf shouts too. That was a big one. That
Yeah.
for everybody, that wasn't me, huh?
I was in tears.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cedelf went off. And so was that a good thing or a bad thing?
A great
Was
thing.
it-
No, it's great. But if you're going to pick a goal, it's something that you shouldn't have an attachment to it. Right?
You should remember those words that
It's
you just said, right?
it's different if I'm scoring the goal. There is a physical attachment to the goal. But if you're going to pick a number one goal, or assuming that you said chronological, but the way in which you're framing it is you think that's the best.
They could actually
it's just
look at
because he's commentating on it. That's you can't give it an extra credit and make it more memorable just because you spoke on it.
I didn't even remember that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
think
even
you've hit that
attaching
really well.
No, I think to be fair to Jing, I don't think he's thought it, because I commentated it. I would be there.
Right. Yeah,
It's gonna be there.
You two ganging up on me now because you were also commentating on the game.
Of course not. I'm just being
I
objective.
think
Being commentators. To me, I thought that was a bit embarrassing because you don't want to be talked about after the game. If a game finishes without people talking about the commentary, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think I get it, but I think the commentary, especially in that instance, accentuated that goal and it brought it to life. So essentially, that is the role of the commentator, right? Is to bring that moment to life.
For sure.
And I'm not saying that it now is part of it. That the commentary is actually part of the goal. It's a whole package now. When I relive that moment. And it's different because I relive it actually from the sideline, right?
Yeah.
But now, how it will be remembered by thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people who've watched it will also be with that commentary, which is a huge responsibility. One that you're abusing right now by picking it in your top five.
No, it's a real honor to call that game. But if I don't have Phil Younghusband on this list, then I might as well just stand
he has
up
no
and leave.
business here. He has no business
Yeah,
here.
whatever. All right, fine. All right, so that's his five. How are you with that?
Actually, I think
is it good? Is it a good selection?
It's good.
All right. What is
Chiefy? Couple of goals from Chiefy. I thought that he could have spread the wealth a little bit.
All right.
Go on then. Let's see what you got. I'm intrigued to see.
I'm spreading the wealth here. Okay, I'm gonna start out. I'm gonna take you way back.
Is this in order? Is this in order?
Yeah, chronological.
You're doing it chronological.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Okay.
I don't know. Of course, we're gonna make an announcement, like just helping promote. It's the Southeast Asian Games in a few weeks' time. I think it'll be the under-22 Azkals are playing Cambodia in their first game in Rizal Memorial, November 25. So I'm gonna take you back there. The date is actually 1991.
Wow. I was 4, and
a lot of us, we're just very young back then. So I'm picking Norman Figueroa's goal against Malaysia, then defending champions Malaysia. A 1-0 victory for the Philippines, and that really was a big moment. Although we weren't there yet, but a lot of the people I've talked to, especially growing up in Bacolod, when people, football people bring it up, it still lights up their faces light up every time they talk about it. Even Coach Norman, who went on to coach the national team for 3 games, still remembers it fondly. And it was a goal coming from I think it came from midfield. Bambi Joso, probably one of the best midfielders nobody has heard of in this era, and it was a pass to Elmer Bidia, the former Mr. Football, and then Mr. Bidia crossed it to Coach Norman, who controlled it with his chest and fired and took one fake and then fired it with his left foot, and that sent the crowd crazy at Rizal Memorial. And you can just imagine, because we've seen that. We've seen a lot of people watching the games at Rizal Memorial and how they react to goals, and probably it was the same way back then when Coach Norman scored that goal. And back in Malaysia, it also sent shockwaves because they called that that loss a national disaster.
A national disaster. Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a shout out to Rick Olivares because he actually wrote about that goal before. I think Malaysia played the Philippines in a friendly a few years back, so Rick wrote about it, And that's my first choice. That goal of Coach Norman Figueroa.
Okay.
I think I think he was I think he can sneak into this. Probably if he was still playing from 2001 to 2010 to 2019, he could still sneak into that team. Might be in the outside looking in.
Wow.
On this team, he's a very good player, Coach Norman. Next one is actually 2 goals from that Vietnam game. So the first one, Chris.
So you're gonna put it in one. In like
No,
that's
no,
a one
no.
pick.
Those
two are both in.
Okay. Both in.
Yep.
I had a personal attachment to this goal because I was with the team. I was covering them. In the lead up to that game, I remember Chris and Anton Del Rosario. They were in training. I think the team was training in a park somewhere in Hanoi.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't an actual pitch, right? I remember that. It was a really small pitch. And these 2 guys, Anton and Chris, when we got back to the bus, they were going at it. They're like debating or something. It's like, these 2 guys, they couldn't let it go, man. Come on, we're going back to the hotel. And then these 2 guys were still talking. They're still, And then the next day, they combined to score the first goal because it was Anton's pass to Chris for the header. And, again, Chris, known for his late runs into the box. He just sneaks in and then makes it an awkward, And then Chris just came a week. No, you were told a week before.
No, about 2 days before.
2 days before that you needed to come.
Yeah.
And then he came in, so that was like sort of heroic of him to reinforce the team. So that was the first goal, and I thought that was a great backstory that they were actually going into it, getting into it, arguing the day before.
Do you know what that was?
Why? What?
So the day before, it was so basically where the main stadium was. There was like a training field next to, what's the name of the stadium again? I forget the name. Maidin. So there's there's a training field, and then there's literally like a bunch of like recreational fields.
Mm-hmm.
So we were training on this one of their crappy fields, basically.
Crappy field, because there were better fields there.
There were better fields, but they didn't, for whatever reason, they wanted to mess us up. So we were training on a crappy field. Simon McMenemy put on a session. It was a counter-attack session. So the objective of the session was we defend deep, we stay compact. We win it. Okay, we had to break forward, like get the ball forward quickly, and then support in numbers, which I'm hoping you're going to come on to with your next goal. But then we finished that part of the session, and then we played 11v11. So we played the starting 11 against the second 11, and we played. They played with Coach Rolando Pinheiro up front.
Okay.
Who was actually part of that 1991 team.
He was in the 91 team that you mentioned earlier. So he was playing in the shadow squad or whatever, the sub 11. And I think we got beat, maybe 2-0, 2-1, something like that. He honestly gave the back line the complete runaround.
Coach
Right? I'm not sure. I can still see the practice now. He was probably about, I want to say late 30s, maybe early 40s at this point.
Wow.
Maybe older, right? Something I don't know. And he absolutely gave me a runaround. And I basically said to some of the back line, and probably picked on Anton for whatever reason. Maybe he was the one who got the brunt of it. Yeah. I said, like, we've got a big game tomorrow, and you lot just let 40-year-old man just bully you. Yeah. And then, obviously he wasn't happy with it, and then he chirped up, but you got bullied, mate. You got bullied by, granddad. But so that was really I remember being on the bus. We weren't really going at it, but I was basically saying, listen, mate, start. Get your head screwed on because we've got a big game tomorrow. If we're gonna get embarrassed by a 40-year-old coach, we've got no hope tomorrow. We've got no hope against Vietnam. Reigning champions, 45,000 in the stadium.
But I remember that as well. They didn't train very well that day.
Yeah.
They were really bad. It's like, how is this team going to win?
Yeah.
Tomorrow or get a result even against Vietnam? And that game, I think when Chris scored first, I was in I was in the media area, media tribune, and I didn't like their chances against Vietnam because I watched training and they didn't really do really well, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna leave my phone in the hotel, leave laptop in the hotel.
What? Okay.
Because the game before, the Singapore game, I told my boss, like my editor in Inquirers, like, sir, we just drew against Singapore, 1-1, and it was like 7:30, 7:45 here in the Philippines, and he says, nah, just save it for tomorrow. Just write a longer story. We can't put it in the paper now. It's almost closed, so just save it for tomorrow. So okay. I'm not gonna bring. So next game, the game kickoff was at 8. It was late kickoff, 7:30, something like that. And then, of course, my mindset was like, I'm not gonna write about it tonight because whatever happened. First of all, I'm not so sure if they're gonna win, and second, my newspaper might not print it out because it might not make the deadline.
Yeah.
So I go there, just watching the game. So I'm listening. There were a bunch of Singaporean journalists interested with the result of this one because they were in the group. Bunch of Vietnamese journalists, and I had a good friend right here beside me, Michael Church. He's been covering Asian football for a long time. So we were talking. Every time someone touches the ball, I give the background of the guy. He's like, oh, he played for Neil. He plays for Fulham. Like Chris is in the States. He's coaching, but he studied in the States. And so everyone was like, as soon as Chris scored, everyone was like quiet, and I was like shouting. I violated the rule, man. There's supposed to be no cheering in the press area, so I violated that rule. And then people, all the media guys were looking at me like, but the Singaporeans were like congratulating me. So it's like, okay. And then the second goal happened. So Chris wins it, sets Phil on his way for the counter attack, and then Phil Young Husband's shot gets saved.
Mm-hmm.
Ian Araneta recovers the ball, goes back to Chris, and then Chris lays it off to Phil, who had to fake with his right foot and then take it with his left foot. And I thought that goal was significant for a lot of reasons. I thought that was that really characterized what the Azkals were all about that time. Actually, a lot of the goals really characterized what the team was all about. Phil, I was staying like 2-3 rooms away from him in the hotel, so I knew his struggle the night before, that he couldn't sleep because of the bum stomach. Because I heard every time I brought my PlayStation there, so I was like playing like up until 2 a.m. So I would hear Phil going out of his room. So I said, oh wow, Phil's having a hard time. And then he scores the goal, and the celebration was a bit, he couldn't celebrate that much because he was in pain, and you could just imagine the people there in Maydin. It's like 40,000 people silenced by that goal. And upstairs in the press area, as soon as Phil scored, all the Vietnamese journalists left. They all left, and I was like going crazy.
Of course, you were celebrating.
I was celebrating, man. It was like I couldn't let this moment pass. And then I go down immediately after the final whistle and see all of them, like the disbelief in their faces. Wow, priceless, man. It's like, what did they do? What did they just do?
Yeah.
To me, that's still my most memorable Azkal moment. After the game, going down to that locker room, everyone celebrating. Phil was throwing up in the restroom, and all these homegrown Filipino players, Yanti, Hener, of course, Chiefy. Oh God, unbelievable. Still my favorite Azkal moment up until now. And when they left so the Vietnamese, the hosts, they shut down the stadium, like very quickly. So they were forced to get out, and then going back on the bus, back to the hotel, because the hotel was quite far back then. They in the last Suzuki Cup in Vietnam, semi-final last year, they moved the hotel to near the stadium, right? So it's like 3-5 minutes away from the stadium. But before, they put the hotel in was that Shangri-La or Sheraton? Sheraton was like 30-45 minutes away. You got to go through Old Quarter, and it's far away. So that bus was rolling into town, and people were trying to throw something in the bus.
Really?
And then like motorcycles, Vietnam, Hanoi, there are like a lot of motorcycles there. They were honking, and they're like cursing at the people. And like we were on the bus, and everyone was just celebrating. So memorable moment.
That's what? That's three.
That's three already.
That's three.
Yeah.
All right. I hope your next two picks are better.
I'm gonna go with same as Jing. We have the same choice. Chiefy against Mongolia.
Oh my God.
Chiefy against Mongolia. First of all, I was there. I was like, again.
Yeah.
I was there again, and I remember Panad was not as nice as it is today. There were no seats then. It was just all the bleachers, and it was packed.
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
And I remember a lot of people scampering for tickets. No, they booked their flights, not knowing if they're gonna have tickets for the game.
Yeah.
So I just the amount of interest in that game was just spectacular, because that was the first game after the Miracle in Hanoi, first home game, and really, because the thing that pains me in that Suzuki Cup 2010 was that we deserved the home game just for making it to the semifinals.
Sure.
But we didn't have that home game. So it was a bit disappointing. But, that time, the PFF was in turmoil that time, because before they left for Suzuki Cup, the former president, late Mario Martinez, was, kicked out of office.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of problems then. The leadership issue was not settled. And, here comes the Suzuki Cup. It was a stark contrast with what was going on. The national team was doing pretty well, and then the organization was struggling. So that Mongolia game, there's really the coming out party here in the Philippines. And, I remember just, running through a sea of people, just going through, when you go up to the media area. The media area wasn't that good as well, and it was so hot that day. It was so hot. Some people took off their shirts, because they could not handle the heat. And Chiefy, it was a struggle actually to really break down Mongolia, because they set out very defensive, and then Chiefy comes up with this moment of magic. And celebrates right in front of the Panaad crowd, and that was magical for me, seeing Chiefy celebrate that way. And
that was thumbs to the last name, right? He was pointing to his jersey, Kaligdong, right?
Yeah, and a lot of because Iloilo is close to Bacolod. It's just an hour by boat.
Yeah,
a lot of the fellow, a lot of the Barotac Nuevo people came to Bacolod to watch that game.
Yeah.
So it was a significant moment for them as well, because the Barotac Nuevo has been known to produce a lot of football, national team stars before. And we all know that Barotac is the hotbed of football. But you needed something tangible. You needed something that you have to prove it. Yeah. To the greater public. And with so much attention in that game, I think Chiefy represented them very well.
Mm-hmm. This was Peace Cup?
No, this was a
World Cup qualifiers.
Challenge Cup.
Challenge Cup.
Preliminary.
Round. All right.
Because this was a playoff game. This is the first leg, so they won 2-0.
Yeah.
and then the Azkals had to travel to Mongolia to play Mongolia in freezing conditions.
Right.
And they won that tie. Because of that, they went to the group stage. Did you play in the group stage in Myanmar? They went to the group stage.
No, I didn't play
Myanmar. And that's where they finished, I think, second in the group, and then went to the Challenge Cup in Nepal. So we were toiling in. Can you imagine playing in the Asian Cup like 8 years later?
Yeah.
And toiling in the AFC Challenge Cup preliminary round, playoff.
Yeah.
Just to get to the qualifying stage.
Incredible.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
That's 4 goals, right?
Yeah, 4.
That's
okay.
No, yeah, 4.
Yeah, first your fourth one.
And
so Chief, go back again. Remind me.
Figueroa, Chris,
Greatwich, Young Husband,
Young Husband,
Chiefy. Okay.
And
is your last one a good pick?
Actually, we've talked about this goal on the show.
Go on then.
With the man himself. I'm going for Stefan Schrock's rocket against Kuwait.
I can't believe I haven't made it into that. I can't believe I haven't got my Singapore goal in there. Carry on.
Okay.
Carry on. Whatever. Go on.
I was debating because I really wanted a Stefan Schrock goal. I was debating with.
So you're forcing one in there?
No. Stefan Schrock's goal in the Asian Cup or this one, the goal against Kuwait. But I'm going for the goal against Kuwait just because this was a goal here, and it briefly gave us some hope in that game. But really, I thought that was a great coming out party for Stefan Schrock, for the rest of the Filipino football fans to see him, what he's all about. Took it very, very well. Well struck goal, top corner.
Yeah.
Just a great goal against a quality opponent. So that makes the list. We've talked about it in the show. Schrock himself was happy with that goal. So
yeah.
So that makes my top 5.
That's your top 5.
All right, it's 10 rubbish goals, and here comes Chris Greatwich with his 5.
with the real answer. Okay, I think I'll start with 2. I'll start with 2 goals that both of you have picked.
Okay.
Right. So
the Singapore and the Vietnam one.
No.
Okay.
No. So consensus picks now will be Chiefies against Mongolia.
Okay.
Right. For me, one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't get to play in that game. So I played the Suzuki Cup, played whatever the 6 years prior. Then I was living in America at the time. I had some sort of visa restrictions, so I felt like I had to be back in the US, which meant I had to unfortunately decline the invitation to go. But I remember watching the game and I was like, oh my gosh, I should be there. It was very difficult to watch the game.
Your brother was there. Simon was there.
Yeah, so in some ways it worked out all right. 'Cause I remember speaking to my brother about it, and my brother, I think he trained really well apparently, and he was in and out of that sort of starting group. And then in the end, I think Weiss, that was his first game, he spoke to him and said, look, I'm going to have to play, I think it was Haner, he played centre midfield. I'm going to have to play, because we have to just pay a little bit of homage to what happened in Suzuki Cup. But you'll come on second half, and he played second half. I think he had an attempt on goal that overhead kick. Yeah, I think he either saved it or just went over the bar.
Yeah, went over the bar.
Anyway, but so I remember watching the game, and it was just, the atmosphere seemed electric.
Yeah,
it was so vibrant. And then you talk to people sort of post, anyone who was involved post 2010, like you said, the clamour for getting the tickets, the anticipation of that game. Like you said, it was very much a sort of homecoming of heroes. So for Chiefy as well, like you said, he had sort of seminal moments, 2004 Tiger Cup, where he was the hero, but no one really knew.
Yeah, nobody knew.
No one knew, unless you were really, really deeply ingrained in Philippine football at the time. Nobody knew.
Right.
And that was really because out of all of the players from that 2010 Suzuki Cup, he was probably the one that featured the least. He was a spark plug off the bench. He wasn't really a starter. And sort of out of all of the players who I think had been there a sort of prolonged period of time, he was the one who really didn't get much notoriety coming out of that 2010 campaign. So for him to really announce himself on that stage in that game and in that manner, again, it's in terms of significance, it wasn't that significant because I think it was to go 1-0 up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So off mic, Jing and I were sort of debating how do you want to qualify this? And for me, although it wasn't it wasn't in a huge competition, right? It was the qualifiers for the qualifiers of the Challenge Cup, which we've established. So in the grand scheme of things, not a huge goal. It won't be one that really defined the landscape of Philippine football. It won't be remembered. But I can picture that goal and picture the crowd's reaction, and that for me was when football was at its absolute height. It was frenzy.
Yeah.
And that for me has to be in there. So I'm glad that the two of you picked it because it's also in my picks.
Perfect.
So that one is in there. The other pick, there's a couple of ones that you've picked that I've agreed with and that you've picked that I've agreed with. So I'm going to go with, my initial pick was Maniot's goal against North Korea. That was in my 5. It was, again, another game that I watched. I thought I'd tune in. I thought I'd see the team get beat. North Korea was strong.
Yeah.
It was, the first half was a massacre. I watched it really to watch Miguel. Because I was obviously coaching Miguel Wakaya at the time. I really just tuned in because he told me that he was starting. So I was like, great, I'll tune in to watch him. And I think he played out of position in the first half. And I was like, he's just not really seeing much of the ball. He's doing a lot of work. But 2-0 and North Korea was it 2-0?
No,
2-1. It went 2-1. It was
2-1.
2-1, but it could have. And when they went 2-1 up, it was literally chance after chance after chance after chance for North Korea.
Like Amani had a goal line clearance, and Wani had a block, a goal bound effort.
You know what? All I remember was just they were very athletic, weren't they, North Korea? And on the break, they were so quick.
Yeah.
And every time they broke, I was like, they're going to score. They're going to score. And I was just, how did they miss that? How did they miss that? I was like, I don't even have to bother watching this. And then all of a sudden, it's a really nice interplay, lovely little flick from Manny.
James was involved in that goal.
So James and Rambo Ian Ramsey come on, and the game completely flipped, completely changed on its head, and that goal then swung the momentum in the Philippines' favour. And then obviously then Ian came out with the winner. It was a bit unlucky not to make that list because obviously he had the winning goal.
Felt the need to
let's acknowledge it. Let's acknowledge it.
Yeah, for sure.
But unlucky, Ian, you're not in this list.
Yeah.
But there's something about that goal. Again, the celebration was iconic. There's there's a lot of sort of pictures after the game with Manny is kind of crowded out by some of his teammates, and it really, it was just a very iconic goal, I think. And correct me if I'm wrong, that goal enabled us to qualify for the next.
No, we avoided. Going down to the lower bracket,
right? Which meant that they were and
it was significant for China as well. That was a significant game for North Korea because had they won that game, they would have been through to the next round
of World Cup qualifiers.
Of World Cup qualifying and secured their Asian Cup berth. Because of that, China was in the third round.
That's right. But what that meant was that on paper, Philippines got a more easier route, shall we say, to Asian Cup.
Better route,
Right, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So that also has significance.
For sure.
But that's really where the significance lies in that goal. Because if you take it out of context, but they didn't qualify for the World Cup, they didn't qualify for the next round.
Yeah.
But in scoring that goal, bringing the game back into within reach for the Philippines, it enabled them to prospectively get an easier passage to the Asian Cup, which ultimately is what happened. So I think that goal definitely deserves a mention because of that. Because of that fact. So there's two. I'm going to pick my goal against Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
I posted it today actually.
It's a nice reminder.
Yeah, I like to reminisce weekly. Just post it, share it, tell someone about it, whatever it might be. But the goal itself was definitely the platform and the springboard for everything else that happened. Like, I remember talking to Rick Oliveira, as you mentioned earlier, and I said a couple of things I think have been watershed moments in my time with the national team. But that one was definitely one. That goal then gave us the confidence to go into the Vietnam game knowing that if we get something from this game, we could qualify for the Suzuki Cup. And if we qualify for the Suzuki Cup semi-finals, then our life is going to change forever. We didn't realise how, but we figured that this is something that's going to have huge repercussions, and hopefully will have a ripple effect within the football community. The backstory with that goal is, so I was called up pretty much 2 days before the competition. I'd gone to watch Fulham play. I went up with Neil, so we sat in the stand, and Neil got a phone call. He said, "Right, you need to be at the airport." I think it was that night. "Your flight's booked. You're going to Vietnam." So I said, "Okay." And then I think you remember saying like, "Yeah, what about Chris?" And he said, I think we were trying to sort out his ticket." So just so everyone knows, I didn't have an altercation with Simon McMenemy, but my brother Phil had played under Simon, and when Dan Palami was looking for prospective head coach after Des Bulpin had left, sort of scrambling around, and my youngest brother Simon then put forward Macca's name for the job. So they put his name forward. Spoke to Simon spoke to Macca first, and he said, like, "Would you be interested?" Put his name forward, and then eventually got the job. I then sort of messaged him, I think around the sort of qualification period. So when they went to Laos, I said, any chance of getting a call up, or interested in me? I mean, I'm interested in coming and being involved with the squad. Nothing. Didn't get a response. Didn't get anything. So I said, I think I remember saying to Ace Bright, who was booking the ticket, I said, "Listen, if I'm gonna go to this competition," I said, "just have Macca call me, explain to me the situation, and then we'll be good." I said, no problem, no issues. So anyway, didn't hear anything. So I just got home after the game, went to bed. Phone rings about 6 a.m. It's Neil. I was like, "Okay, right." So I pick up the phone. I said, "Right." He said, "Yeah, I've just landed here. I think they're in Singapore."
Thailand.
Thailand, right? Thailand. So in Thailand, and he said, "Your flight's booked. You fly at whatever. I think you fly that day." And I'm like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, you fly that day. So tickets been booked. So check your email." So I'm like, I don't know if I want to go.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to go, really. Like, what I said was, issues haven't been resolved, this and that. So I was like, screw it, I'll go. So I'll go. So I pack my stuff. So we fly. So I meet the team in Thailand, right? Then we fly from Thailand to Vietnam. So anyway, I sit with Macca at the dinner table as well. I said, "Listen, can I just have a word with you first?" I said, "Yeah." So I said, "Listen," I said, "I'm here now. So let's make the best of this situation. But just so you know, my brother got you the job and that, and didn't extend the courtesy of a message or whatever, like to say thanks, or to give me a heads up of why you've not included me, or why I didn't get a response to that. But I'm here now, so I'll do my best by you. But just so you know, it's this and that." And in fairness, he gave his response, his rationale behind it. He said, "Yeah, look, it's just got the job, all happened so quick, end up getting into work. You hadn't really been playing." I said, "Yeah, you can give me a message or something, let me know that was up." I said, "Yeah, probably should have sent you a message." And that was it. I'm not one to hold a grudge, really. So anyway, so we trained the day before. It puts me straight in the starting 11, so that was good. I lied. So I told him that I've been keeping fit. I had not done a single thing all year. and when I said I hadn't done a single thing, I had no club. I was just coaching. I didn't go to the gym. I hadn't been running. I hadn't done anything. Literally nothing.
Wow.
I can't even remember the last time I actually played a game of football. So it gets to I'm 70 minutes through, and I'm like, 70 minutes. Well done, Chris. You're the man. And we're 1-0 down, thinking time to get some fresh legs on, right? So he calls up the sub, and I'm thinking, he's got to sub me now, surely he's got to sub me. He doesn't sub me. I remember telling Dan at about 80 minutes, he's got to get me off.
Yeah.
Got to get me off. I said, I can't move. I'm just nothing. I'm complete waste on the pitch. I'm a mannequin. Essentially, I'm a mannequin. So I said, nah, you'll be fine, stay on. I said, no, I can't move. I cannot move. So anyway, I remember it getting to about 90th minute, 92nd minute, whatever it was, injury time. We've made one of the rare forays into the Singaporean half, and
very rare.
I don't even know how it got there, to be honest. The video I posted today is literally the clip of the ball just being in and around the box. They've half cleared it, and then the ball goes to Phil, plays it wide to James. And I remember thinking, I can't be bothered to go into the box. When Phil got it, I was like, I can't be bothered to go into the box. I'm too tired. I remember, for whatever reason, I said, come on, Chris, just one last run. Just one last run. Just everything you got. Just push yourself. Get into the box. Something might happen. And as the ball makes its way to James put in a bang average cross. But I can literally remember. So if you imagine the goals here, the cross has come over from the left-hand side. And I could literally see there's like a strip. And it's narrow. It's narrow where the ball can be delivered, where it can feasibly come to me. I can just remember seeing the ball sort of slowly travel along this galley. I'm thinking, oh my God, this ball's going to come to me here. It's all slow motion, right? I'm thinking, holy shit, it's going to come to me. And then as it arrives, I'm thinking, I'm 5 yards out. I was going to stab it in. Just any moment I'm thinking someone's going to nick it, or whatever. Yeah. No, it's come to me, stabbed it. And if you watch, I literally sprint like an absolute maniac. Then if you watch after the sort of the euphoria of everyone hugging in, Neil's gone full pitch, right? So there's everyone's there. I can't get to the halfway line. I can't jog back. I'm like this. I'm like the end of a marathon or something. I literally can't move. And then shortly afterwards, the final whistle, but I literally had no idea how I did it. No idea. Absolutely no. It defies all logic. Shouldn't have been there. Shouldn't have scored. Shouldn't have been playing football. Full stop at that time. For whatever reason, the goal is scored. So it has to be in there.
Yeah, off the couch, Chris.
Right?
Man.
Off the couch.
That's awesome.
Just go and bang some goals in, right? So there's that goal.
All right.
You know, I remember his jersey then. He had a different font.
Yeah, different font.
Different font on the jersey. Yeah. It's really obvious, Chris. You just came in here.
That's
You're not part of the team, really.
Yeah.
That's how late of an addition you were. Huh?
Yeah. And I've got to give a shout out to Ali Borromeo here, because apparently Maka has said to him, like, should we bring him in? He said, listen, a 50-60% Chris is better than having a 100% fit someone else.
Right.
So really, he was the one who pushed the agenda. So without him, really, that I would never have played. So I have to be thankful for that.
Ali was beside him when if he missed that ball.
Yeah,
I've absolutely stolen his thunder big time. Because he easily would have stabbed it in.
Yeah. He was there.
He was there. Yeah. So that's in. So I've got Chiefy's goal.
Yeah.
Your one, which you mentioned.
Yeah. So we have two in common.
Two in common.
Yeah. You've got the Manny goal.
There was the Manny and Manny goals. There's three.
That's three.
Right. So
the
there's
Singapore
three.
goal. That's three.
I've also got another one that you picked.
Really?
Yeah.
Which one?
Which is Phil Younghusband's goal.
The penalty.
The penalty. Right. For me, it has to be in there. The commentary, the magnitude of it, everything. And you summarised it great, so I'm not going to go on about it too much.
I didn't want to put it in there because the goal goes back to the commentary, man.
Yeah, but I think it definitely deserves to. Yeah. I think again, you mentioned it. Kevin Ingresson's goal could easily replace that, because that goal really was the defining moment in that game.
Yeah.
Had Phil not have scored, we probably still would have gone through.
Right.
But the sheer drama, the sheer theatre of that goal edges Kevin's goal, despite probably the important bit laying with Kevin's goal. So that was in. And then my fifth pick is Shrockies against Kuwait.
Really?
Yeah. I think, again, when you're talking about moments, like goals that you... And again, this is the most memorable, right? So that goal stands out because, again, with the commentary. Do you remember the commentary?
Bob.
From Bob.
G, yeah.
Do you remember what he said? How it goes?
No, I just remember him shouting,
Shrocky! Right? Like 55 Ys, right?
Yeah.
And it's probably the best goal on that list, right? In terms of the actual technical execution of it.
Yeah.
It's against a good opponent, right? It was in a World Cup qualifier. That goal at the time we thought could potentially get us to the next round of the qualification. So, and for me also, we with Shrocky, we'd been waiting for him to don the national team colours for so long that for me, it wasn't his debut, was it? It wasn't his debut, but it was
debuted in Sri Lanka.
The Sri Lanka game. But that was a game really where he announced himself.
Right.
So again, you're talking about moments that will define the Philippine football history. That will be one, because that was really the time where I think it propelled him to another level within the sort of the hearts and the minds of Philippine football public. That's another one where you could, the imagery in the crowd. I mean, that again, that was still within that, I think, that frenzied Philippine football period, and I think it has to be in. I think it has to be in. So that's my 5.
The consensus: Rocky's goal.
No. So the 2 out of should we go over the ones that have been picked twice?
I think the one that got picked 3 times was Chifi's.
So Chifi's is in, yeah. So Chifi's is in our list for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
We got to make a decision on Suzuki Cup. Chris, Greatwich from Suzuki Cups. I think Singapore or
so
Vietnam.
you picked that, both of you.
No. So those 3 are in. So we'll do the ones that we think should be in.
Okay.
And then we'll whittle it down to 5.
All right.
Right. So mine.
Yeah.
Suzuki Cup. Phil Young husband. Suzuki Cup.
Asian Cup.
We had him for the 50.
Asian Cup was 2. So Asian Cup was 2.
Yeah.
Right. So Asian Cup goal. Yeah. What else have we got?
Shrocky, 2 of us. Oh no, there's 3 that's 2 was unanimous.
2 of us have Manny too. Manny.
2 of us was unanimous. What were the 2 unanimous ones?
Chifi
and Chris Singapore, was it? No. No. You had Vietnam.
Chifi Mongolia.
Chifi Mongolia is the only unanimous one.
Was the only unanimous
Chifi.
one.
Yeah.
Phil Young husband.
That's you and me.
Right, with it. So that's definitely a debatable one, right? So that's one we have to debate.
And then Manny versus North Korea is you and me.
Manny versus North Korea. Yeah. That's 3.
Shrocky. You and me.
Yeah.
That's
Chris.
Yeah.
Versus Kuwait.
I'm surprised nobody mentioned Shrocky Asian Cup. Probably because it was kind of like more of a fortunate type of goal. I mean, it's historically, if you're going to look at it on paper,
historic.
You know what I mean? It's the
historic.
First goal in the Asian Cup.
Yeah, it is
it's a misplaced free kick at the end of the day in a game that we lost.
In a game that we were losing. So it was a consolation. So,
but I still think it's more of a symbolic goal.
Symbolic.
Eventually. Especially when we get back in the Asian Cup and then do well.
Okay.
You always gotta look back to where you started, man.
Sure.
So that was the first goal, and at least we didn't go home
without a goal. Okay.
In the first Asian Cup of the Philippines, and
as long as it gets a mention, I suppose.
Same way with Kevin Negresso's goal.
Sure.
So
Shrocky Kuwait. That's what you guys got. That's 3.
Yeah. So Chifi against Mongolia, Phil against Tajikistan, Manny Ott against North Korea, Stefan Schock against Kuwait, and me against Singapore.
Or Vietnam, you guys get the chance to choose. But no, yeah. It was you and me, Singapore, right?
That's what I picked. And then you just picked.
I picked the 2 goals in the Miracle in the 9.
So
look at that. I thought you were going to choose something from Vietnam. You were complaining that none of the goals
I have to play the game. I can't give away all my secrets. Right?
Yeah, all right.
So that's what we've got in terms of consensus picks. Like, I would like to debate my one and Phil's one, because I don't know how that can be not in the mix.
Right.
For the 5. And then we'll come up with a definitive 5, correct?
Okay.
So Phil Young husband against Vietnam is also a prospective one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wasn't that when he backed into the guy and then swiveled and shot it? That was
Maldives.
That was Maldives.
Which how is my goal against the Maldives not in?
Actually. Yeah.
Right, that is a joke. That is actually atrocious that no one's picked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I had it as a finalist, probably 6-10.
Sure.
It was there.
How
it
was
was
it
there.
6
I thought
to
about it
10?
as well.
I think if we go into the Asian Cup that year, we beat Palestine that final. That's a shoo-in.
It's a shoo-in.
100%.
It's a 100%. If we let's hypothetical, we draw the final 0-0 and we win on penalties.
Yeah.
That will be the winning goal.
For sure.
That will be remembered throughout that entire campaign.
Yeah, you know
and
what's-
doesn't even make the top 5.
You know what's unfortunate?
What?
He didn't even get a chance to play in the final.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, me and Dilly
I'm
fell out
so-
about that
I'm
big
sorry.
time.
Ouch.
Big time.
Didn't even get the chance to play. James as well did not even play in the final.
Ouch.
Yeah, I mean, James, I think in terms of that game, James probably should have come on, but I definitely should have played. Me and Dooley, we had words. we had words about that. But it's okay now. We're cool now. Other goals I think deserve a mention. So before we go into and we
Sure.
debate this, I think there's other goals that deserve a mention. James Younghusband against Laos. None of this is possible
Yeah.
without that goal. I don't know
Yeah.
how that has not got into it. This is a tough.
Because it's
tough.
just 5, you know.
Definitely,
5 is tough.
That's, five is tough.
That's still probably the most underrated
It's-
goal. It's still the
it's
most
definitely underrated,
We're,
yeah.
we're just gonna put it as an underrated
It's
goal.
definitely underrated. And then I also think the Kevin Ingresso goal against, which we mentioned,
yeah.
against Tajikistan. What I'd also like to do, okay, tell you what, so if we're going to say, are we going to include mine and Phil's goals against Vietnam, and we're going to put that in the mix? I've got 7 goals then, and we're going to go get rid of 2, and then we're going to go 5-4-3-2-1. Right, so
Okay.
we're going to pick a natural number. We're going to go and list them now. So then we're going to debate which is
Number
is the
1.
most.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Yeah, which is easy really, but that's fine.
I don't think that's easy.
It
man.
is easy. All right.
All
Or
right.
do you want to are we going to take mine and Phil's goals out and we just go with the 5 that we had that were multiple picks?
It
Because
seems,
if we're going to do that, you're going to get rid of mine and Phil's goals against Vietnam.
it seems atrocious to do that, but yeah.
That's what you're saying, okay? So you're
Yeah.
saying that. What do you think? Are we getting rid of it?
Phil's goal against Vietnam.
And mine? Or are we gonna go with 7 and try to pick at 1 to 5?
Really tough.
It feels like you have to put that in because
At
You don't
least
have
one of
to.
them. At least one of them.
All right, so mine's in.
No?
yeah, Phil's just to seal it, you know? That was
Yeah.
just a security
All right.
blanket.
You guys decide because I think
I'm going for Phil.
you're
Sorry
going for
about-
Phil.
Yeah.
What are you going for? Did you pick Phil's?
On the Vietnam?
Yeah. No,
game?
you haven't picked any.
Nah, I didn't pick a goal from that one actually. I still would rather choose yours from Singapore.
All right.
Honestly.
No, mine's in there already. So that's in there.
Yeah.
So which one's more important, out of Phil's or mine? More memorable?
In the Vietnam game?
Yeah.
Strangely Phil's.
That is a joke. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. All right. Okay. Well, you're
can't-
both lying, but whatever.
If you pick,
Hence the word strangely in that
That's-
sentence. You know what I mean? Strangely, that's the
I
one
would
that
also
sticks
like
out.
to. There is a YouTube top 10
Yeah.
list that someone has compiled.
Yeah.
That was number 1, right? Just so everyone knows. No, it wasn't me or a close relative who put that video together. Ironically, before we go into to fixing this, I would do when I was with the national team. I would do the video analysis. So
Yeah.
pre-meeting of one of the games, we was in Seda Hotel in Bacolod. I forget which game it was, but I had the projector up ready post lunch to do the analysis. So I think, maybe I'd just done it, whatever. But I then just put on YouTube, Azkals goals, and then up comes top 10 greatest Azkals goals all time.
Yeah.
And I just put it on. I swear to God, this is the truth, right? And then everyone was there and started watching it. So I'm there with Sven and Scott, and they're all watching, thinking, "You're going to be number 1, isn't he? He's going to be number 1. Chris is going to be number 1 for sure."
Yeah.
He's put this on because he knows. I had no clue. So I'm watching it going, "No, that goal's pretty good. That goal's number 1."
Number
That
one.
goal was the number 1 pick.
Versus
and it's
Vietnam.
not even going to be in our top 5, and it's my show. So that's garbage. But anyway, all right. So we've got 6. So we've got 6 goals to choose from. We're going to get rid of 1, and then we're going to Then we're going to go 5-4-3-2-1.
Okay.
All right. So which is the least significant? The least significant goal, least memorable. Phil Husband against Vietnam, Chris Greatwich against Singapore, Stefan Strock against Kuwait, Maniot against North Korea, Phil Husband against Tajikistan, Chiefy against Mongolia.
Chiefy against Mongolia.
Is the least memorable?
I mean, no. Oh, well, you said significant.
The least. So we're going to try and whittle this down. So
Yeah,
one's
yeah.
got to go. One's out.
Oh, out.
One's out, and then we'll do 5-4-3-2-1.
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna be voting against probably one of the best team goals of the Azkals.
Say it.
North Korea.
Manny Otsko.
Yeah, it's out. It's mine as well. It's yours as well.
That's out.
It's out.
How dare you guys, man? That's a
2
pretty.
against 3, right?
Yeah.
It's out.
That's a pretty goal.
Manny's getting killed on this show.
I know.
Absolutely
He has
killed.
to be on this show. It has to be on this show.
Oh my.
Out.
Oh my.
Out. Wasn't even the winning goal, right? Wasn't
Yeah.
even the winning goal.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And no, he's out. He's out. Sorry, Manny. Okay, so these are the top 5. Now we've got to put it in order. So G for Mongolia, Phil, Tajikistan, Shoki, Kuwait, me against Singapore, Phil against Vietnam. What's 5?
Least memorable for me is Shroki's Kuwait.
Yeah.
Okay, let's put it number 5.
I think it's 5. I think it's number 5. Although it's the best goal on this list.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Agree?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's the best goal.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're getting interesting. How has Phil got 2 goals on this list?
He scored 50 plus, man.
Mostly penalties. We've already established this. Mostly. If I took penalties, I'd be up there as well.
You know, that's why it's just so fitting that he got his 50 from the penalty
Very
spot.
true. It's very true. All right. Go on. I need a 4th. This is really tough now.
Yeah. It's starting to get difficult.
This is really difficult.
So, what are the say it again?
We've
the
still
choices?
got Chifi at versus Mongolia.
Chifi.
Yeah.
We still got Chris Singapore.
Yeah.
And Phil Tajikistan penalty.
Yeah.
Phil Vietnam.
Yeah.
Those are the 4. And
Yeah.
one more. What's the other one?
No, the
That's
trophies.
it. Shoki's is
Shroki's
5.
already in. So
Yeah.
these
So
are the
he's
4.
number 5. So we've got 4 left.
Yeah. Those are the 4.
I'm gonna
I know
go.
what I think on this list is the least memorable out of the next 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is Phil's against Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for
Okay.
me.
Yeah.
Right? I think as a goal, it was an insurance goal,
Yeah.
right? I think, if I'm being honest, and this is not just because it's my goal, if I think to that game, I think of my goal first before I think of Phil's.
For sure.
Because, so how is it not in this list?
That's
Memorable!
Yeah.
Right, and he just said for sure. So based on that, it's also a lie. It more so because that goal was more of a oh my gosh.
It's done. It's done. It's finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, so rather than that other goal was like that's really given us something to hold on to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Which I think at the time was probably what we needed, but. And it was probably more ridiculous. Like that goal was more ridiculous. Like I had no right in putting in a diving header. Whereas that goal, Phil scored 100 of those. Even the goal against Mongolia that Phil scored was very similar to that. Like a cut onto his left foot and then a finish. So I would have that as the 4th. Agree?
Yeah.
All right.
Food poisoning Phil.
Food
right?
poisoning Phil.
That's a good.
Is
one.
number 4. 3. So we've got to pick. The 3rd. This is gonna be tough now.
This is Chifi, Chris, and
Phil's against Tajikistan.
Wow.
Go on.
You know, it's hard. You know, because
Just pick one. Come
uh,
on.
I'm gonna go with Chris against Singapore.
Is the 3rd? That's a joke. What do you think? You think so too, don't you?
No.
You don't?
I'm picking between Phil and Chichi here.
Oh no! So we all think different.
Yeah. I'm picking between Phil and in this
All right,
one.
I think mine is 3rd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think mine is 3rd. I think
That might have made number 1 for me.
no. I think it's 3rd. It's not a great goal,
Yeah.
and although it had impact, there was still a lot of work to do.
Right.
So
right.
it wasn't like a sort of it wasn't a defining moment in a sense, like right, that is it. That is
Sure.
it now. Right? If that had been in the final and it was a winner,
Yeah.
it has it's more significant, I think. That was more like it was a group game. We still had 2 more games. So we started to perform in 2 other games.
The
So-
context being though that we had no business competing against anybody,
That's very true.
right? Prior to that, and then to get the draw, to nick the draw
Yeah.
against a Suzuki Cup side that had been winning the Suzuki Cup prior to that, right? They were the dominant side. Singapore were. them alongside Thailand, right? So it's not like they were a team that we would regularly compete well against. It was like, no, we're going to lose against these guys. I mean,
he makes a very good point.
That to me is the reason why, like,
he makes a very good point.
All of these future goals were like, they're more believable because we got that result against Singapore.
He makes a very good point.
Right?
Mongolia are awful. You probably could have scored against Mongolia.
Oh my God. Jing could have scored.
Yeah.
No. I would have hit the upright for sure. That's me. But yeah, that's my only argument for that. Right? It sort of sets the tone for what's to be more acceptable for the Azkals moving forward.
Because I'm thinking with the Chiefy goal, I'm thinking it's like whenever you see like compilations, like little commercials on TV of that's always there.
Has to
that
be.
goal is always in, right? It's always like it's so iconic, that goal.
Yeah.
It is iconic. That's why I think I put it in there, because it is etched in my memory, quite literally. Like it's like burnt in there, as it's definitely an iconic Azkal goal. But maybe in the context, it's like you said, it's
significance-wise in terms of results.
An opponent, I don't know. What do you think?
I'm gonna go with Chiefy at number 3.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Chiefy with number 3.
All right.
Go ahead.
I think right now, because of what was back then. What was it back then? It's significant.
Yeah.
Just because of the pull that the Azkals had that time. You'd love to have that again.
Sure.
Yeah.
You'd love to have that again, especially now with a stronger and better team.
Yeah.
That is actually competing at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a bit heartbreaking that at a time when the team has gotten better, way better.
Sure.
Then that they tend to be overlooked by
maybe that's why I see this goal as being so memorable. In a sense that because Suzuki Cup, there was no one there.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, things have been in a sort of steady decline in recent years.
Yeah.
In terms of sort of public interest, shall we say? That was at the height of it. Maybe that's why it resonates with me so much. That's maybe why I hold it in such high regard.
I remember being a little disillusioned about that game because I couldn't make it to Panay, and I was thinking like, I didn't even want to watch it, and then I ended up watching it, and then it was packed, and you're like, dude, I really want to be there. And then to see Chiefy pull off something like that, who, as I've mentioned, and it's been established, is like the guy that I was looking at on this team, who didn't really figure that much in 2010, but this is his moment. Yeah. And he took advantage of it with a goal that was spectacular. Yeah, great. And was such a dream for
It's a much better goal than mine, for example.
Yeah, but the thing is, the timing.
Sure.
I think Chris edges it with the timing of his goal.
Sure.
Because that was right at the death. Last kick of the game.
Yeah.
Against a very good opponent. You got to remember that before, Thailand, Vietnam.
Yeah, Singapore.
In this recent years, right? It's been Thailand and Vietnam lording it over Southeast Asia.
Sure.
But
that time,
no,
Singapore
has won three AFF championships that time.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
Tiger Cup and then the Suzuki Cup. Then
they won it 2 years later.
And then they won it 2 years later
with the same team.
Yeah, almost the same team. And the reason that was memorable was that was also like backs against the wall.
Yeah.
Like I was like, you were just waiting.
Yeah.
The floodgates will open for Singapore, but it didn't. And I remember them scoring the first one around 60 minutes in, and Jurch heads the ball in, and I'm like, and they didn't celebrate.
Yeah.
It's like relief for them.
Yeah.
And then that goal just probably encapsulated that performance right there.
Okay.
So I'm
Chiefy 3.
Chiefy 3.
All right.
So then it's Chris and Phil. Chris and Phil for 4 and 5. This is a tough one. We've played up the Singapore.
2 and 1. 2 and 1.
2 and 1.
2 and 1.
What do you mean 2 and 1?
This is it.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah. 2 and 1. Yeah, you're
number
right.
2. So which one gets it? I'm assuming by the debate we all think the same.
Yeah, I think Chris wins. Phil wins it.
What did you have as going into this? What did you have as your number one?
I just picked 5.
You just picked 5.
Yeah,
and then debated.
I didn't put them in order.
You didn't put them in order. What did you do?
You know the funny thing is, I didn't even have Phil there. That penalty wasn't even there.
You didn't even have it.
I didn't even have it.
It was my number one.
That's your number one?
Yeah. It is. I think for any narrative that you want to have with this, other than it's not the most spectacular goal in terms of like the finish or execution. It's the most important, right? Because it sent us to the first Asian Cup, so that was great. It was a winning goal against a tough opponent at home in front of a decent crowd.
Yeah.
Right. Despite how the TV would depict it, in front of a good crowd. Phil's 50th goal.
Yeah.
Right. And the fact that it was a winning goal in the literally the last kick of the game.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't write a better script.
Yeah.
You couldn't write a better script for a goal.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, when you tie all of those things together, and then from a personal perspective, the sheer elation when that goal went in, it's unparalleled.
Yeah.
Even with the goals that I scored for myself, like the feeling that I got off the back of that goal was just utter jubilation, and the reaction of the crowd, the reaction of the bench, the reaction of the team on the pitch, everything just cemented. And that, like, when I talk about definitive, that was it. That was like rubber stamp, bang, job done, job completed, mission accomplished. And I think for me, that's why it has to be number one.
You know what? I hope when Toby edits everything, they're gonna show the goal commentary. Oh my God!
But I think that's part of it. I really do.
Yeah.
I know we joke, and you're in the studio now.
Yeah.
I think it's all part of it, and that's what makes. Again, it just adds and accentuates to that goal. It makes it so special.
That was the goal that brought me.
Not
to
your
tears.
blubbering. Your blubbering does not bring anything to the table other than embarrassment to you.
Yeah, but
not
my best moment. Not my best
all right. So Singapore goal, that's
2.
number 2.
Yeah.
And then we got Phil Younghusband as the number 1
It's
goal.
number 1. So yeah,
From the penalty spot.
Yeah, so we've got. So let's do this, right? So we've got. Let me put this down so it's absolutely official. So we've got number 5 on the all-time Philippine national team most memorable goals list. Stefan Schock against Kuwait. Number 4, Phil Younghusband against Vietnam. Not me. Phil Younghusband against Vietnam. Number 3, Chiefys against Mongolia. Number 2, Chris Greatwich against Singapore. And then number 1, Phil Younghusband against Tajikistan.
I think that's fair. I think that's a good list.
I'm happy with that. I'm very happy with that.
Phil Younghusband as number 1. I think it was a perfect crowning moment for him. You know, a lot of people from the outside who are not part of like the Philippine footballing scene will look at Phil Younghusband like a pretty face, like he's used as a marketing tool for the sport, which he is, but he's also backs it up with his play and his output. You know, he's done a lot for the sport, and to get that moment, I think was a huge feather in his cap to tie everything up in a nice bow. Yeah. Like, you know, it's perfect.
Perfect.
I'm not gonna complain.
You happy with that?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it.
Those are iconic goals.
Yeah.
You can't. Yeah. It's fun debating everything.
Yeah.
It's really fun, you know, and recalling some of the goals. You know, you're brought back to these moments, and you know, there's always that thing that, what were you doing back then? Where were you?
Yeah, where were you?
Where were you? I mean, where were you, Jing, when that Vietnam goal happened? I was
in Nomads. I was watching. We were there were UFL games going on during that time.
You stopped the game, right?
Yeah, I think that was the one. I think it was Chris's goal, that one that stopped it.
Yeah.
Not the Singapore game. It was the Vietnam game. When he scored initially, there was an Union game that was going on that stopped. And they came out to see like what's going on.
The referee stopped the game.
Yeah, the referee needed to. Just real quick, let's pause the game real quick. It seems as if we scored a goal, so let's just check in on that. Yeah.
Where else in the world, right?
Yeah.
Like, where else in the world?
Because it's unheard of.
Stops a league game.
Yeah.
to watch an international match.
That's madness. That's absolute madness. We needed a few minutes to like calm down and then let the game restart because it was unreal. So I think like the third one, Phil's goal, you can like interchange that with yours. You just throw that in there, like in parentheses,
Fourth.
or Chris.
Fourth. Yeah.
Yeah. Either goal in that Vietnam game. Yeah.
All right. I'm not really happy about that. But I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't actually put it in my top 5.
Well, look at
neither
you.
goals,
All
actually.
right.
I had Phil Younghusband down as number 1. I had Chiefy's down as number 2 against Mongolia.
So there you go.
So I, pretty much, I'm quite happy with that. But we've got, because we broadcast this live, and I think I posted something this morning on my own social media. Then I think some other stuff has come through on our Across the Line social media platform. So thank you for everyone who's tuned into the impromptu live episode. And then if following this episode you have your own opinions as to what should be included in the top 5 Azkals all-time most memorable goals list, please let us know. But while we've got them on the feed now, I think we're just going to go through a couple of them, some of the people, and then we'll see some of the suggestions that our fans have put in.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go in order. So handle is Rarax Luna. I'd say your twisting header.
That was the goal against Vietnam.
Iconic. That was what that person put there.
Off your shoulder, says Anton.
Well, I don't really care what he says. He has no clue. He's just lucky the cross got to me.
It was a hopeful ball.
Normally his crosses don't get anywhere near the mark. So the fact that it hit me, that was
it was a hopeful ball from Anton.
Number 1, Shockey against Kuwait. This is from Ramto Bias Barcelona.
Yeah.
Shockey is number 1 against Kuwait. Number 2 was Manny Art against North Korea.
Oof, everybody loved that goal.
Number 3, me against Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Reischel's half bicycle kick versus Turkmenistan.
Yeah, this was an
interesting one.
Yeah.
And Kevin Ingresso's against Tajikistan.
That was a good goal.
Which I think is a fair. I think that's a pretty good compilation, I would say. What do you think?
We hardly talked about Kiki scored a lot of goals for the Azkals as well.
Yeah. Misak as well.
Yeah, Misak had a really great 2016, 2015, 2016.
Yeah. Jerome Clemente has put Chris Greatwich's goal against the Maldives.
There you go.
Doesn't get a mention, which is, again,
3-2 against Ali Ash. It's very, very significant, you know.
Well, why don't you put it in then?
The Azkals will be in the Maldives next week.
Yeah. So why is it not in? It's current. It's it's something that everyone should be hanging on to based on the upcoming World Cup qualifying games. But
you might as well name this the Chris Greatwich top 5 goals.
I know. I should take at least 3 or 4 of those spots. Then he's put Ian Ramsey against North Korea. Again, a valid choice. And then he's also put Phil Younghusband that took us to Asian Cup. He also puts here the emotions on the face of the Ultras Filipinos, grown men crying tears of joy.
For which one was that?
This is Jerome Clemente talking about the
Phil Younghusband
goal.
Oh man, what a goal that was!
Yeah.
Grown men, crying tears of joy.
Grown men.
Yeah, I remember.
Grown men. I'm on camera mentioning their names.
No.
Who's next?
Ryan Phoenix, our good friend Ryan, mentions Chiefy Kaligdong's goals.
Yeah.
We have one of Chiefy's goals in our top 5, Ryan. So thanks for tuning in.
This is a good one. Is it Leon Banag? L. Leon Banag. Yeah. It's put number 5, Chris Greatwich against Vietnam. Number 4, Manny Art against North Korea. Number 3, Kevin Ingresso against Tajikistan. Number 2, Shockey against Kuwait. And number 1,
go ahead,
Chiefy against Mongolia.
Yeah.
Which again, keeps rearing its ugly head. But unfortunately, number 3 on our list.
Number 3. Yeah.
But I think that's pretty fair. What do you think? Yeah. I think the fans have got pretty close to what we've selected. Yeah. So I think
definitely decent. Some similar ones there.
Some decent comments there from the fans.
I mean, looking back, I'm amazed that we have these so many goals. Right? When I started, following football in the Philippines, I didn't have, these moments to enjoy, to savor. And right here, us debating about it on which one was the best of the lot it's just remarkable from where we were 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah. I'd like to have this conversation in 10 years' time and see which which goals would be added to the list. But
some may be bumped off.
Not mine. I hope not. Anyway, it's
depends how high we go, right?
Yeah,
what heights we climb.
Yeah, but no, I've enjoyed this. I think it's been good to go down memory lane again and debate our top 5 goals. And yeah, if anyone out there who's watching this episode or listening to this episode on our podcast networks, and you have an opinion, let us know, because although it is our definitive list, it is not official. I'll put it down there. It's unofficial. And please leave us a comment on our social media platforms. If you agree, disagree, let us know. But Jing, thanks for coming on the show again.
Man, it's
been
fun.
A repeat guest.
Is that the first time?
Yeah. I think so.
It is.
Oh, look at that, making history.
Yeah, maybe a host in the future.
Potential. When I get fired from this show for not showing up all the time. It's nice for you to clock in though today, so it's good to have you back.
Of course. Just it's tough to keep this going because all the schedules, we have a lot of stuff going on.
Stuff's a busy guy, man. Yeah, he's in demand, bro.
No,
that's really how it is.
But it's really nice. It's really nice. It's a big month of football ahead of us.
Yeah, huge one.
I think it deserves a bit of a discussion. Two big international matches coming up next week. Philippines versus Maldives in Male. Philippines versus Syria in Dubai, and then we have the SEA Games right after.
Nice,
like a week after. So. Big month, and hopefully it's also a big month for the teams that will be representing us. And thank you for tuning in to Across the Line, and this was a first for us. We had fun doing the debate. We'd like to thank Jing for coming over.
My pleasure.
If you enjoyed this episode of Across the Line, please subscribe to our YouTube page, follow us on Facebook, and download our episodes on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify.